Okay, in this short tutorial, just following on from a previous tutorial looking at frame by frame animation and motion tween, what we're going to do is look at adjusting or changing the values or properties of the information held in these keyframes. Okay, so at the moment this frame signifies the start point of the animation and this signifies the end. They're the two keyframes that we have at the moment. If I want, somewhere along halfway, I could convert to keyframe, which is going to add another point, a middle point. What I'm going to do is just move the ball down here, and you'll notice that the path is now going to follow start point, middle point, and end point. So I've just adjusted or altered the path of the animation by adding this this middle keyframe, and I could do that all the way along if I wish. Just put in random keyframes. Okay, and you'll notice that in particular between this keyframe and this keyframe, because the distance is so small and it's taking a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, just under half a second to move. It's moving that bit slower than the rest of the segments of animation. I'll play that again when you're able to see. See how that's slowing down. So because of the distance in relation to the time that it's taking is therefore affecting the speed. Now, at the moment, the information that's held by these keyframes are simply this shape, with the colour, the line, but more importantly, the positioning. What we can look at doing is, probably wouldn't be able to see any rotation because this is a circle unless there was some kind of detail in there, or if it was another shape. We could alter the size. So the size was the original size of this frame. However, this keyframe is smaller. It is going back to being the original size at this point also. Okay. As I said, you could rotate. You could change the shape just for the sake of it. And you'll notice that the changing back to the original state or the original information that's held by this keyframe, and so on. Another thing that we could have a look at is applying colour effect, for example alpha, which would allow us to decrease the opacity. So at this point the information held on the shape is at 0%, whereas at this point it will be 100%. So what we're going to see is the object actually fading through. Okay. Now, these techniques, or the information that I've changed on these keyframes, can be done with any symbol that have been generated between an image that you've created and converted to a symbol, text, or shapes such as this. That's pretty much how you can go about editing or adding in additional keyframes along a path that have been generated. If one last thing I guess we could add is, if I was planning on keeping or making this ball static at this point, I could copy this frame and paste it wherever I want, and that's going to allow the ball to appear on the animation. Where that might be handy is if you have, say for example, some text fading in and you wanted to hold on the screen for a period of time and then reverse back to fading out. So if I copy this frame here, paste it, I can create my classic tween, and at this point select it select the alpha from the color effect under the properties tab. That's it down to 0. And fade out. Okay, so you can try it out with multiple different shapes, symbols, or objects.